So, look, in case you hadn't noticed, folks, this is a government of change, and the coalition agreements, plural, have a number of policy platforms and action plans that are going to get done by this government, and indeed they unveiled a 100-day action plan. I don't know why they didn't find another one, so it could be 50 things in 100 days. They've gone for 49 things in 100 days. And one of those most central things is the rollback of what is cleverly called by the last government the Fair Pay Agreement. It was, in fact, a way to reintroduce a number of restrictions on the freedom of individuals to bargain with their employers, and it gave a large amount of control back to unions through centralised national awards and bargaining. It was strongly opposed by business lobbyists and others in New Zealand. There was the suggestion that it was actually illegal under international law, but the unions paid a lot of money to get it through, and Labour is their party, so it got through. And now, not in a tit for tat, but because they campaigned on it, the parties of the coalition are going to roll it back, and the person responsible for doing that, for repealing, and it makes you sound like a meanie, repealing the Fair Pay Agreement, is newly minted Minister of Workplace Relations, Brooke van Velden, who joins us now. Brooke, thank you very much indeed for your time. And while you're there, congratulations on your appointment to the Cabinet as part of this coalition government.
Oh, thank you very much, Sean. It's very exciting to be part of the new Cabinet, but I'm excited because we've got a government of change. You know, people voted with a clear mandate to get rid of a lot of unfair, not fair pay agreements, but unfair laws that the Labour Party put through over the last 6 years. And so we've got a clear mandate, and I'm very happy to see that these fair pay agreements will be gone by Christmas. Not because there's anything spiteful about the law, but because we don't believe they would actually help low-wage workers. You know, we've looked at all of the evidence. The regulatory impact statement, when this law was first put in place, recommended against fair pay agreements. And that was because there would be added costs to business, which means added costs to consumers, but also businesses who wouldn't be able to afford the fair pay agreements could shut up shop or be less likely to employ somebody more. So we believe that this law will actually hurt low-wage workers rather than help them.
All right, what is the legislative process you need to go through to roll this back?
It's fairly straightforward. I'll be bringing a new bill to Parliament next week, pushing it through under urgency so that it is done all before Christmas. We don't need to go through a new regulatory impact statement because it's a simple repeal bill, repealing a law that already went through a very long consultation process. So we already know what all the costs and the benefits of it are. That's been laid out. We've had a select committee process, and now we're looking to go back to the status quo, and then from there look at further employment law changes.
Yeah. Well, the CTU, who are, let's be honest, probably the architects of this bill, and got their mates in Labour to run through, and also spent hundreds and thousands of their members' money without asking their members, campaigning against National and against ACT and for Labour at the last election. They're not going quietly, and really, from the reportage I've seen, Richard Wagstaff and you, in a public and a perception sense, are kind of at war. He says you didn't consult him, is that right? And you say, I did. I had him up to my office and we campaigned on this and everyone knows it's coming. So he kind of fibbed, but then he said, oh, that's not consultation. Well, what more the hell can you do?
Well, look, I got sworn into Cabinet on the Monday, and on the Wednesday I sat down with the Richard Wagstaff from the CTU, out of an acknowledgement of all the work that he and his team had done over the previous government, and out of fairness to let him know that our decision had been made that we would be repealing the fair pay agreements by Christmas. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we reached out in good faith to start a working relationship for the next 3 years, and this is what's happened. But of course, there's not so much that you could get from added consultation from the way that I think he wanted it, which has sounded a bit more like a negotiation. What we wanted was just to let him have the ability to explain his position on the fair pay agreements that had been well canvassed in the media, and also let him know that I did plan to repeal it by Christmas.
And there's no way anyone, unless they lived
out.
under a rock, didn't know this was coming. Brooke, I guess it is also an indication that there has been a change of government, and many people seem to be taking a while to catch on to that, and that particularly some of my colleagues in the mainstream news media seem to still be thinking like we've got a Labor majority government, and maybe Mr Wagstaff's doing that, and he has got some cognitive dissonance going on. But you've also had, supposedly, according to the media, one of the most horrendous leaks in the history of politics and cabinet in New Zealand that almost, I was told, by News Hub and others, brought down the new government last week. What was this document? What was all that about?
Well, look, it is disappointing. I had taken a paper to Cabinet to my new colleagues explaining the need to repeal the fair pay agreements by Christmas and setting it out, bearing in mind that we can't do anything as a government unless it goes through Cabinet for legislation. So that's what's ended up, it appears, to have been leaked. So there's nothing new in it. There's no scandal of any type. It's just someone was so excited that we were repealing the fair pay agreements, they couldn't wait to get their hands on it. But of course, MB has started their own proactive investigation to see if they can find where that leak came from.
So it was an MB leak, not a Treasury leak?
Look, Treasury didn't supply me with any advice, which has been misleading by the news. I have had advice from MB.